What's a small decision you made that changed your life significantly? A friend of mine and I decided to spend our holidays in Vienna, where we met two students and decided to join them at a club later that night. They brought a friend who had just broken up with her boyfriend, and we instantly liked each other, danced, made out with each other, and then parted ways. My friend stayed in contact with the girls, and we decided to celebrate New Year with them in Vienna. When she and I looked at each other, it was over for both of us. We went to her room, had the best sex of our lives, and decided to never part ways again. That was 25 years ago, and I am writing this looking at our breakfast table. She just left for work. Our beautiful and smart sons are almost grown up, and I am so grateful for meeting her that I could cry.
That's a nice story about unexpected connections. Meeting someone special during a trip can really change everything. It's cool how a night out led to a long-term relationship. Celebrating milestones together, like New Year's, adds to those memories. It's interesting to think about how life can lead you to someone who becomes such an important part of your life. Sounds like you've built a good life together.
I stopped living my life with the assumption/expectation that someone who promised will help me will follow through. I live my life under the assumption that I will have to do everything myself. That way, if someone does follow through and helps, great. If they don't, I'm already ready a step ahead dealing with it. I just don't like situations when someone promises you something so you try to lean on them only for them to flake out last minute and screwing you over because you needed to know in advance, making you have to hurry or put in way more work now. You can't make people care about your stuff if they don't want to AMD. You shouldn't expect them to, because that would be entitlement. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
I get that mindset. Relying on others can be a gamble. When you expect help and it doesn't come, it can really throw you off. Doing things yourself takes pressure off those relationships. It's like having a plan B built in. If someone helps, that's a bonus. If not, you're already on track. It's about personal accountability, really. Just focusing on what you can control makes life simpler.
My friends used to break into the elementary school late at night for fun. I went a couple times, but it scared me. They planned on going one last time, but I said I was grounded and couldn't go. They were arrested that night. One friend said that arrest broke his fear of the police, and he started his life of crime. After he got out of jail in his late 30s, we talked, and he said that moment changed his entire life. He said he knew I was lying about being grounded, and he told me that lie saved me.
That's an interesting story. It shows how choices shape our paths. Your friend's decision to try breaking in led him down a different road, while you stepped back and avoided trouble. It's wild to think a simple lie could turn out to be a saving grace. Sometimes, being truthful about our limits can keep us safe. Life has a funny way of working things out.
My best friend and I were the only dumbasses to sign out for senior skip day. Got 3 days of islands. Coach watching ISS ran track at OU. We talked over the days. I was a good high jumper. He talked to the current track coach at OU. Got me a recruiting trip and a full ride track scholarship, LOL. All because I signed out of school for senior skip day like an idiot.
Sometimes, skipping school leads to unexpected opportunities. That senior skip day story is a mix of bad decisions and good luck. It's funny how a little rebellion can turn into something big, like a full ride to college. Just goes to show that life sometimes takes strange turns. It's nice when dumb choices lead to a good outcome for once.
I downloaded Whisper while on a train going across the country, USA. For those of you who don't know, it's a completely anonymous app, no login info/usernames or anything. I responded to a post that was made by someone 1,000 miles away. The post said something about asking for ideas on how to get over an ex. I commented saying, "Let me know if you get any good ideas." We've now been happily married for 10 years and have 2 kids. 1 in a billion chances that we would have found each other.
That's a pretty wild story. You just reply to a random post and end up meeting someone special. It's kind of funny how life works out like that. A simple comment leads to a long-term relationship and a family. Shows that sometimes you find love in the most unexpected places. Just goes to show, you never know where a little interaction can lead you.
Learning to take a stand for myself has been a transformative journey. I used to be a people pleaser, constantly prioritizing others' needs and opinions over my own. I was so focused on gaining approval and avoiding conflict that I often ignored my feelings, boundaries, and self-worth. It left me feeling drained and unfulfilled because I was always bending over backward to make others happy, even at the expense of my well-being. Now, I'm no longer afraid to say no. I found strength in my voice and confidence in my decisions.
That's a solid journey. It's interesting how realizing your own worth can shift everything. Learning to say no is a big step. It's not easy to break out of the habit of always trying to please others. It sounds like you've found a good balance now. Standing up for yourself definitely makes a difference in how you feel day to day.
I swam year-round when I was in high school and was very competitive with some of my teammates. One of the girls told me she was going to do a Learn to Row program that summer for fun. I had no intention of doing that program, even though my younger brother had been on our rowing team for a year. I was so competitive I decided that I would do the summer program as well. I ended up being decent, quit swimming for rowing my senior year, and even was recruited to a DIV-1 rowing program. That dumb interaction changed my entire life.
It's interesting how a simple conversation can steer your whole direction. I get that competitive vibe. You think you're just doing something for fun, then it turns into a major opportunity. Quitting swimming to focus on rowing sounds like a big shift, but it paid off. Getting into a Division I program is impressive. It shows how sometimes we push ourselves based on what others are doing, and it can lead to unexpected paths.
Injured my arm playing high school football, and the doctor advised lifting weights. The track team were the only ones who had weights, so I decided to join so I could use them. A couple of years later, I was offered a track scholarship to college. My family had no money, so I never would have gone to college otherwise. My whole life changed because of that decision.
That's interesting how one injury led you to a whole new path. Joining the track team for access to weights makes sense. It's cool that it worked out and led to a scholarship. Sounds like that moment really turned things around for you. Funny how life can change from a seemingly small choice.
One time, I decided to take a different route to work because I heard there was construction on my usual path. Innocent enough, right? Well, that small decision led me to find a tiny cafe with the best coffee I've ever had. Naturally, I started going there every day. The barista got to know me and started slipping extra espresso shots into my order. The caffeine-powered confidence led me to finally ask for a raise at work, which I got. With the extra money, I started taking cooking classes, where I met my now spouse. So basically, I owe my marriage, career growth, and some seriously good pasta skills to a traffic detour and a hyper-caffeinated barista. Life is weird like that.
That's a cool story. Just from a small choice, you found a great cafe and got a boost in life. It's funny how one little thing can lead to a big change, like getting a raise and meeting someone special. It shows how taking a different path can open up new opportunities. Makes you think about the little moments that shape our lives. Simple decisions can have huge impacts.
Buying a $4 yogurt incubator at the thrift store because it looked cool. I eat homemade yogurt with a banana, frozen berries, granola, and cacao nibs daily, and have for years, and I never get tired of it. Anyone in the US who is interested in yogurt making, I can mail a packet of powdered starter. That regular pasteurized milk and a warm place to incubate is all you need.
That's a solid way to get into yogurt making. A thrift store find is always a win. Honestly, having homemade yogurt daily sounds healthy and pretty tasty with all those toppings. It's nice that you're open to sharing the starter too. I think a lot of people would appreciate that. Simple things like this can really lead to some good habits.
Used to work with a guy who lived sort of near me, but we weren't overly close enough to carpool. One day, he asked me for a ride home. On the way, he asked if we could stop at a grocery store as he wanted to buy something for dinner while checking out at the register, starting talking to the girl behind us in line. Exchanged numbers with her, and boom, 2 years later we got married.
That's a cool story. Funny how a simple ride can lead to something big. It's nice to see how random moments can change life. Just shows connections can happen anywhere, even in line at a grocery store. It's like fate sometimes just steps in, you know?
Stop using should, supposed, or other declaring and obligatory words when talking about life. Things are. Life is. We're all diff and come to conclusions how we do. We get redirected all the time, but we adapt. I know what works for me, and sometimes, most times, it's not supposed to be that way. In relationships, at work, in organizations, at church, etc. All that. What's funny is I love wisdom and hate learning the hard way. I listen to OGs all the time. I've heard many times from peers my age that with this mentality, I will learn stuff the hard way. But it's quite the opposite. I have way less pressure, less social constructs boxing me in, less labels I gotta make sure I stick to. It has helped with peace a lot. Most things I really don't care about, and the things I do, I really care about. But I've eliminated much potential stress and focus on peace and my way of living.
I get what you're saying. Dropping that whole should mindset can be freeing. It's a lot easier to just accept things as they are instead of stressing over what they should be. I've noticed that focusing on what actually matters to me helps in keeping things simple. It cuts out a lot of noise and leaves space for genuine experiences. Finding peace in your own way makes a big difference.
I made 2 small decisions, really. One was to trust my gut, the other was to stand up for myself. The response of the narcissist I was living with was to create chaos in our relationship, marginalize me, and have an affair. This directly led to me leaving her. And my life is infinitely better without her in it.
It's interesting how 2 small decisions can change your life. Trusting your gut and standing up for yourself is huge. Facing someone who creates chaos is tough. Leaving that situation must have been hard, but it's clear it was necessary for your well-being. It's good to hear that you're in a better place now. Sometimes, cutting ties is the best choice you can make.
I agreed to go home with a guy I used to work with after the Christmas party. We didn't sleep together that night, literally just fell asleep at his house. 5 years later, I'm 39 weeks pregnant with his child, living in the house that we own together with our dog sleeping next to our bed. Agreeing to go back to his was meant to just be a stupid decision, and instead it changed my entire life, and I'm so happy I agreed.
It's funny how a simple decision can shape your life. Just going home with someone after a party turned into a big change. Now you're about to start a family and building a life with him. It shows how unpredictable life can be. Sometimes, what seems like a small choice can lead to something meaningful. You never know where a night might take you.
I have 2, when I decided to go to the gym and when I bought myself a motorcycle. Going to the gym made a more active person and more secure of my body. It changed my personality, routine, my whole life from then on. And when I bought me a motorcycle, because I work as a delivery guy and I gain a lot of money, and this job took me out of a complicated financial situation and gave me more liberty to go everywhere I want, it also became part of my personality.
It's cool how those 2 decisions shaped your life. Hitting the gym definitely can change your mindset and how you see yourself. Then getting a motorcycle for work not only helped financially but also gave you that freedom. It's interesting how those experiences can really become a part of who you are. Finding confidence in both fitness and independence is pretty impactful.
deciding to say yes to a random invite to a study group in high school. I was uninterested at first and almost skipped it, but I ended up meeting my best friend there. That one why not moment gave me someone who's been my ride or die through everything since. It's crazy how one tiny decision can have such a big ripple effect.
It's interesting how a simple choice can change everything. I mean, I remember feeling the same way about a random invitation. I wasn't sure about going, but once I did, I met someone who became really important in my life. Just like your story, it shows that even small decisions can lead to lasting friendships. It's funny how life works out like that sometimes.
I decided to wash my dishes right after using them. This started me into a routine-based lifestyle, and now I've added 2 more, moisturizing every day and also cooking instead of eating out. I've been fighting routines my whole life, thinking they made for a boring life. But now I'm realizing that some routines are absolutely needed to set you up for success. Those routines can look different for different people. Truly made a difference in my life. Looking to add a routine of walking every day, which will hopefully help me start to lose weight.
It's interesting how small changes can lead to bigger ones. I used to avoid routines too, thinking they were too strict. But like you, I found that having a few simple habits made life feel more manageable. I started meal prepping and going for walks. It's nice how those little things can add up over time. Good luck with your walking routine. It's a solid step toward feeling better.
I attended a Women in the Trades online forum at my fiance's urging, even though I was trying to weasel out of it. I was tired, it was late in the day, my computer was acting up, and I was trying to make 1,000 excuses to back out of the info session. She, remembering how excited I'd been about the career prospects, and also having seen me miserable at my dead-end job every day, put her foot down and told me that the conversation was over. I was sitting in on the forum. For years later, I'm about to graduate to the level of journeyman carpenter. I'm making more money than I ever have in my life, and our union benefits genuinely let us both breathe so much easier. It totally changed the trajectory of my life, and I'm happier every day for it.
It's funny how sometimes we resist things that end up being really good for us. I remember avoiding a lot of opportunities myself. A friend pushed me to join a networking event once, and I had the same doubts, but it turned out to be a game changer. Now, looking back, I'm so glad I didn't listen to my excuses. It's interesting how a little nudge can lead to big changes.
Speaking up, it's lonely at times because a lot of people want followers who don't question things even if they are wrong. It was really stressful to deal with people who want me to back them no matter what, and my life really improved. I have more self-esteem, confidence, and though my circle is small now, I know who I can have a legitimate conversation with and who I can't.
It's tough when you realize not everyone wants to hear the truth. Speaking up can isolate you sometimes, but it seems like it helped you find those who really matter. A small circle of genuine friends is better than a large group of yes men. It's good to hear you've gained self-esteem and confidence from your experience. Sometimes it takes a bit of loneliness to find the real connections.
I was shopping online and had to add something to qualify for free shipping. I randomly decided to search for a Bible. Found one with a pink cover. Thought it was cute. I added it to my cart and bought it. It sat on my bookshelf for months. Then one day, there was a power outage and I was super bored. So I decided to start reading it. Haven't looked back since then, and it has changed my perspective on a lot of things. It has helped me navigate a lot of things I struggled with tremendously.
That's an interesting way to start reading something like the Bible. Sometimes you find inspiration in the most unexpected places. It's funny how a simple decision for free shipping turned into something meaningful. I guess it's true that boredom can lead to discovering new interests and perspectives. It's cool that it helped you with your struggles too.
Got invited to go to a Six Flags park by a friend with a group of their friends that I wasn't a part of. Since I would have been the odd one out, I declined the invitation, only to change my mind the morning off and tag along anyway. I am now married to one of the non-friends. We are celebrating our 23rd anniversary next month.
It's funny how things work out. You went from not feeling like part of the group to finding something meaningful. Sometimes those last-minute decisions can lead to big changes. It's nice to hear that you found someone special amidst that situation. Celebrating 23 years is definitely something to be proud of. It shows that taking a chance can really pay off.
Back in kindergarten/first grade, early primary school, I stopped playing a specific game during recess. That fundamentally altered whether or not my people ended up being the nerdy ones or the more traditionally popular ones. Until that point, I was generally part of both groups. Little did I know how much that would change the course of my school experiences. I went with my fellow nerds. Don't regret it.
It's interesting how early choices shape things. Stopping that game probably made you feel more aligned with your true interests. Those social dynamics are tricky in school. Choosing to stick with your fellow nerds might not have seemed like a big deal then, but it often sets a tone for the friends you keep and the experiences you have. Glad to hear you don't regret it.
I was never able to save any money because my income was both low and irregular. Even if I tried to save anything, something always came up. The problem was I was saving in liquid assets which can be converted into cash with just a few clicks on mobile. Then I came up with a strategy. The strategy was eyed by only 1 to 2 gram gold. I couldn't even save that much money, so what I'd do is that I save 4,000 rupees, Indian currency, and borrow some 4,000 slash from someone. Next month, I'd return the borrowed money. I kept doing this and now I have some 30 gram gold which I didn't sell because selling gold is a bit of an effort in my country. I now regret why I didn't start doing this years earlier.
That's an interesting approach. It's tough to save when your income isn't stable. Using gold as a saving method makes sense, especially if it's not easy to sell. Borrowing a bit to boost your savings isn't a bad strategy either. I guess it shows that sometimes thinking outside the box helps. It's always good to reflect on past choices, though. Hindsight can be a teacher. Now at least you have a little something saved up.
It's always been my dream to write a book. Life got in the way, and college/marriage/kids made it difficult to even find time to myself to read. In 2020, when suddenly everyone had more time on their hands, I told myself now was the time. I knew the first step was to rediscover my love of reading. I started with a small goal to read 20 pages a day. A year later, I was reading 100+ pages a day and had a story idea. Fast forward to today, and I am writing daily. I have 2 completed books, a lit agent, and am on submission with publishers.
That's cool to see how you turn things around. Life can mess up dreams, but you found a way back to it. Starting small with 20 pages is smart. It's interesting how a little extra time can shift your focus. Now you're finishing books and pitching them. Hope it goes well with the publishers. Who knows, maybe one day I'll be reading your stuff. Keep at it.
Went out for dinner with some work friends on a Friday. Ended up having more drinks than planned. Myself and a couple others decided we were going to taxi home as it wasn't worth driving. One of our friends said it was stupid to leave his car. He lives 15 minutes away and he only had a few drinks. And yes, it was only 5 or so drinks, so nobody was hammered, but certainly way more than the legal limit to drive. We all said, "Don't be stupid, blah blah," and thought we had him convinced to taxi with us. Guy snuck out while we were all clearing our bills. Drove onto the main road, where there was a police check stop set up. He obviously blew over the legal limit. Our taxi passed and pulled over. A would have been $30 taxi ride ended up costing him $30,000 in lawyer fees, mostly fighting to get his license back. He had to get a blow box set up in his car, which was like $500 a month for a few years. Also, his insurance went up astronomically. Put the guy 10 steps back in life for making a really stupid decision. I'm forever grateful, till this day, that I just made a smart decision.
It's wild how one bad choice can alter everything. I had a similar experience with a friend who insisted he could drive after a night out. We argued, but he left anyway. Later, we found out he got pulled over and ended up with huge fines and no license. It's a relief I took the safe route that night. You really never know how one decision can impact your life.
I pursued a woman in college whom was into me, but was playing games and didn't really reciprocate the feelings as openly as I did. My next-door neighbor and I kept meeting eyes at parties and saying flirtatious things when we passed on the stairs. One night at a party, I kissed her, and we've been married for 8 years and have 2 little girls.
It's funny how things work out. I was really into this girl who seemed to like me but wasn't all that straightforward. Meanwhile, my neighbor and I kept having these moments. Then one night, I just went for it and kissed her. Turns out that was the right move. Now, we've been married for 8 years and we have 2 daughters. Life has its surprises, I guess.
I passed over an individual on Hinge because he had very little in his profile past pictures. He reached out to me the following week, and I decided I lost nothing from asking him all the questions he didn't have answered in his profile: religion, kids, what he was looking for, hobbies, where he wanted to live, his relationship with his parents, smoking habits / drinking habits / extracurricular habits, his views on money, his views on relationships, etc. We ended up having a fun conversation and found we were significantly more aligned than expected. We celebrated 3 years together and are starting to house hunt now.
It's funny how sometimes you can overlook someone based on their profile. I had a similar experience where a friend ignored a guy because he had barely anything written. But after chatting, they clicked. Turns out, getting to know each other beyond the surface can change everything. Now they're moving in together and everything's going great. Just shows sometimes it's worth taking a chance.
I messaged this cute guy on POF, and we've been together for the last 6 years. It was just so random. I sent him a message, and to my surprise, he messaged back. A lot of guys think girls are bots when we message first. We got talking, then I found out he wasn't an hour away. He was 2.5. He must have checked the app at his sister's place. We chatted a lot, played games on the PS4, and just never stopped talking. We've lived together for the last 1.5 years. It's great. Well, apart from me hating where he lives. It's not his fault. I was supposed to be back home a year ago.
It's interesting how a simple message can change everything. It's cool you took that chance, especially given how people usually think online dating is just a joke. Living together for 1.5 years sounds solid, even if the location isn't ideal for you. At least you've built a lot of memories together through gaming and chatting. It's a reminder that sometimes, unexpected connections can turn into something real.
Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.